Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Our next presenter is Derrel Sims. Derrel last spoke to the Congress about 8 years ago, and we have perhaps been more than a little remiss in not having him back for 8 whole years. That's our fault. A little bit about Derrel. He is an abductee himself, and his experiences were ongoing and constant between approximately 1952 and 1965. And then when things stopped for Derrel, he was happy to just let it all go away. But when his son turned 6 years old, his son's abduction experiences began. And that is what gave Derrel the impetus to go after this phenomena with a vengeance, may I say. And now, the result. We bring you Derrel Sims, Alien Hunter.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming here. You've had absolutely amazing presenters, and you're fixing to have another one, I understand, right after me, Mr. Sparks. I've not heard him before, but I've heard it is phenomenal, so stick around for that one. I understand his experiences are also similar to mine, and they're conscious events. Alien Hunter. Let me ask a couple of questions before we get started. How many of you people have actually seen a UFO? How many of you saw one a little closer than you wanted to see it? Oh my goodness. Okay. How many of you came back with a little surprise? Okay. How many of you are lying? Me too. I'm with you on that. Alien Hunter, they ask me often what that means. What does that mean? Well, it means, as was so eloquently put by Bob, my events I can live with, not a problem. I'll get over it. I'll grow up. I'll quit whining. But when you come after my children, I will come after you with a vengeance. You leave my children alone. Get me. I don't care. So that was not a pleasant experience for me. I did everything I could. I'm very scientific and mathematical, as you can imagine, using my Chinese palm top here. I have different approaches to the abduction phenomena. I used to be a police officer. Whenever I interview you, it's kind of harrowing. I put my cop hat on, and it doesn't believe much of anything. You're going to have to convince me. When I put the medical science hat on, I pull out our cardiovascular surgeons and our other doctors and others professionals, talk to them, bring them in. It's a totally different deal, but it's all got to be proved medically and scientifically. I have alien DNA. I'll pay for your test if it turns out to be that. Not you pay for it in advance. You know what I mean? So I like evidence. I love evidence. I was in the intelligence community for 2 years. Some people hold that against me. During the Vietnam War, I was in the Central Intelligence Agency for 2 years in covert operations, training junior officer trainees at Camp Perry, Virginia. Google that and see what happens. I had some problems getting here. I made it, hard guy to get down, you know what I mean? I missed the conference before, but I decided to do anything I could to get here. I love this. I speak all over the world, and I'm telling you, this is the best conference, bar none. I kid you not. It is. I want to thank Terry for emailing me, Bob's phone call and his time with me, and Nikki's unbelievable patience especially with somebody like me. I made it, and I'm glad to be here. And I honor all three of those people for doing the incredible work, and your team here is just amazing to me. I want to honor some abductees for just a moment. I have people that flew in here from England, other states, just because they found out I was going to be here. That reward on me in the post office is not true. I will share in the reward if you collect, though. I want to thank them for coming here. I am touched, moved, and inspired by you being here. Thank you so much. We fly all over the world and do these presentations on medical and scientific evidence of alleged human alien contact. My wife refers to me, she made this slide for me. She calls me Indiana Derrel. She says, "You'll never be happy unless you're doing Mach 4 with your hair on fire." I said, that is absolutely, totally true. We've been all over TV. We just finished a wonderful shoot with A&E, with John Greenwald, and absolutely wonderful man to work with. Incredible stuff, people. I discovered fluorescence, the fingerprint that aliens leave on abductees. In 1992, I discovered the implant phenomena that happened to me when I was age 12 in 1960 because I was the recipient of it. So I was conscious during the event. I didn't discover it in the sense of I did some medical discovery. I simply was there. I remember what happened. So that's why I started looking for other people. Some people think that my background in the intelligence community, there are a couple of them, not many, think that was probably all made up. I assure you, any documents that I have concerning the Central Intelligence Agency, if they are forged, if they are altered, if my DD Form 214 is altered in any way, it's a federal crime and I'll go to prison. Do you think I would be so stupid? I have a top secret clearance. It cost the government about $250,000 for that. So at least somebody had a little bit of confidence at one time in me. We did get crosswise before I left. I brought a congressional investigation against the Central Intelligence Agency. It is a matter of record. I didn't agree with some of the things that were going on, so I'm just Mr. Red, White, and Blue, and I don't care what color you are. It's got to be right, and when things are not right, I will blow that whistle. I am also a licensed private investigator in the state of Texas, and I wear a lot of hats. This is me doing hypnotic anesthesia on one of our abductees who had, in my opinion, a biological implant in her leg. Remarkably, it disappeared. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it had nothing to do with aliens or the government. We received 2 medals for our work from 2 governments, Japan and Slovakia, both from museums, and we're very obviously proud of what we do. There is 4,500 cases of physical evidence in and about abductions and on the ground. That's for, everything. I don't mean somebody just had a crop circle. I mean actual evidence left as a result of these experiences. So what do I do different than other investigators? Well, as you can see, the little dinosaur there, the various different paleontologists or whoever they are digging around, they dug all around that dinosaur and missed him. It's kind of like the alien, isn't it? Everybody talks about it, but where's the beef? Where is the evidence? The fact is there's plenty of evidence, and you will see that in this presentation today, a lot more than you imagine. It's in the infrared, the ultraviolet, and even in the visible range, and it's also in X-ray. It's there, folks. You don't have to parrot and these ridiculous arguments about, well, I saw it in my mind. That's not good enough. That's not going to work. We need the evidence because there is plenty. These abductees are telling the truth. These contactees are having experiences. Some people actually want to build an airport or spaceport or something for these aliens so they can land. There's people actually doing this. This is the United States at night. Does anybody think from space that they can't tell the lights are on? They know where you're at. In fact, they probably find the abductee with a neural print that's even genetic, in my opinion. There are all kinds of ideas of why are they here? What are they gonna do to us? Are they here to serve man? I don't think so, but it's funny to think about it. I just don't think they're here to barbecue us. There are other views too. They're not as pleasant. Again, I don't think this is the purpose. I think there's much more to this. I wouldn't wait for the alien to tell you the truth of why they are here, though. It's like a woman waiting for the perfect man. You may find it as an excellent weight-reducing program. I'm sorry. Maybe the aliens are looking for our deep-seated, great values that we have in ourselves, 10 years of college down the drain, I don't know. We do know some things. I know this. The many times abductees say one thing in their event, and what we find in the event is vastly different than what they thought happened. In this case, the lady said, I was in the school of higher consciousness. Why do I not believe that? Because that's what really happened. And you get a better sense of it as she screams, telling you she's in the school of higher consciousness. Why do I not believe that story? It's not that they're lying, it's just sometimes they make mistakes. There is a screensaver memory these aliens use to encompass your thinking. They get right next to your face with a large black eye, and with that fast, you have a brand new memory. It's not really a memory, it's called recall. It's not a memory at all. It's not the truth. It's like a screensaver on your computer. It's not the big information in the hard drive. So why is the alien here? Is some of the stuff we're seeing that he says a Trojan horse? I think that it is. Now, do I know what all the answers to that? No, I do not. I wished I did. I just work here. Sometimes they say, well, you use hypnosis for memory recovery. Actually, we use a lot of techniques, most of which are conscious. We rarely use hypnosis unless the individual requests it, and it's at the end of the event, and then I use that to verify weather reports and other data that they cannot possibly lie about. There are a lot of you out there. Is there anybody out there that thinks they can't be hypnotized? There's always these people, I can't be hypnotized. There's one. We got one over there. Okay, let's have some fun. What color are those dots? What? You said black? And you said white? And you said both? They changed. Well, isn't that remarkable? They haven't changed at all, have they? But you think they have because I'm messing with your brain with a picture. The alien does the same thing, but he does it a lot better than we do. This is just a nice little test to show you've already been hypnotized. No, I haven't. Yes, you have. You don't even know the definition of hypnosis. What do you mean you can't be hypnotized? You don't even know what it is. All hypnotism is focused attention. I do hypnotic anesthesia and surgery. You know what that means? I better not make a mistake. Especially the surgeon's thinking that for sure. So I probably know something about hypnosis you may not know. I've been asked to teach this even in Cuba. The point is there are no black dots up there. But they'll appear anyway. Some abductees get angry with the alien about their experiences. This is a picture of me right after my event. I wasn't happy at all. Some abductees have other plans for the alien. Some of them are better than this, and some of them are not. I'm just telling you what I find in these events. Some abductees want to go after them. I tell them, wear a helmet. Don't go out there and do anything stupid. This is more my view. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I mean, he's not hurt. I mean, we're not going to hurt him. We don't want to do that. 45% of the cases we have, even worldwide, 45% of the 1,000 cases I have worldwide are Native American, Indian, Irish, Celtic. Why? Because American Indians and Celtic people, Irish people, may I say this in the kindest and nicest way, if you mess with these people in ancient times, they will readjust your thinking in violent ways, if you know what I mean. I'm Native American Indian Irish myself. Either side will come get you. What am I saying? I'm saying the alien is very concerned about that. He's here to breed wonderful things into us so that we'll be a better society. Want to bet? Maybe he's interested in breeding certain things out of certain people so that there's no resistance. So the rest of you that want to roll over can just go ahead and do that. Maybe he has another plan. Phase 1, postulates. I have several postulates that have to be true. If these are not true, we're wasting our time here. These points are, I'm serious. These have to be true. Let me back up just a bit here. There we go. Postulate number 1, if UFOs are real, then they must be real evidence that you can see, the average individual. The government has to be able to see it too. It can't be just you. Government's got to see it. They have to report it just like you do. Well, they won't. Yes, they will and they do. Yes, they do. Pay attention. They will and they do. Yes, a bunch of them keep it secret. That's all right, but it still comes out anyway through various different ways. If UFOs are not real, aliens are probably not real either. You got to get there from there, here, from there. You got to get here somehow. Well, they got here in their mind. I doubt it. If you see a bus driving down the street, you probably assume there's a bus driver. In some cities, I wouldn't say there was. But you hope there's a driver and probably passengers. It's a normal thing to assume. If I see a UFO, I suspect somebody's in it. Maybe you. I mean, he's just a cosmic pizza man anyway. He's just picking up and delivering. Which one are you? Second postulate, if UFOs are real, then there actually may be occupants. I'm sure this is true. I really think this is so for a lot of reasons. If UFOs are real, somebody's driving the bus is what I'm saying. Third postulate, if UFOs and entities are real, then there probably are encounters that are taking place. In other words, if we're flying around here looking at the place, they're probably stopping in and checking on some folks. These are called abductees and contactees. These events are real. Now, what they report in those events may be skewed, but the fact is there is actual contact. These events are quite real. Now, I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me in trouble here. In real abduction events, out of 100 events, let's say you had 100 events in your life, 80% of them, most of the time, are going to be non-physical. There's no evidence of the other 80% of the time. 20% of the time, those events are just as real and have as much physical evidence as anything in the world. 80% of the time, a lot of this stuff is just happening. It doesn't mean the alien's not there, it doesn't mean, but you're not leaving the room. Everything's happening right there. Whatever it is he's doing, uploading, downloading, whatever he's doing, it's happening in that room. Most of these events are not 3D happening, they're going somewhere. 20% of them, there's good evidence that in fact that is true. Point number 4, and this is kind of an important thing too, it's one of my little points here, is from the intelligence and counterintelligence, I think that's what's going on with these events. And I think the alien understands this very well, and I think we're kind of the last ones to get it. I think the intelligence community gets it pretty well. They understand what intelligence and counterintelligence is, and that's what's going on. What do you think the term Star Wars means anyway? Oh, you thought that had to do with only nuclear weapons. We have some interesting people here. One of the people on our staff, Ron Regier, DSP satellite expert, designed some of the components on the spy satellites. Why don't you ask him? You want to rattle your cage? He'll do it for you, free of charge. Governments know this evidence. Not all of the governments, but certain portions of those governments. And of course, the big question to everybody, where do these guys come from? Is it the Pleiades? It must be there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we need a diplomatic approach to it. Some people say so. I'm sure Microsoft will help us with that. Is this how the alien views our probes that we send up in space? You say, well, that's amusing. They think it's a UFO. But the fact is, Don Ecker produced this picture some time ago. This is the moon Phobos. And that's a craft about, so there are different estimates, about 13, 14 miles long. In front of it looked like a giant pencil. Russian probes viewing this thing, all of a sudden the craft there turns toward the Russian probe, sends a flash of light, and sends the Russian probe as a spinner through space. Welcome to Mars. Not everything out there is friendly. Phase 3, external evidence. Evidence must be real in the real world. This etheric implants and stuff like that, I'm sorry, that's a little out of my league. I want to see real evidence. I want it in an MRI. I want it on a CAT scan. I want to see the beef because it's there. Internal evidence is in you, and X-rays, CAT scans, MRI. Folks, I look at hundreds of these every year, and I'm telling you, the evidence is in these people. There must be outside influences. Fluorescence showing up on abductees within 24 hours of their abduction. Inside influences. The psychology of the abductee. We can't have abductees who scream one thing over here, and then you go to another part of the world, and it's all different. That's funny, because in 1,000 cases I've got worldwide, pretty much the abductees are the same. Now, the look of the creatures may be a little different, because that's just usually a screensaver memory anyway. But the fact is, the events are the same. Even in the religions, in Islam, they call them the jinn. Call them whatever you want. When you describe the event, they'll say, oh, that's the jinn. They know who it is. They just didn't know it was an alien. But they know they can get real rough with you, and they haul you off and not bring you back. Inside influences. The psychology of the entity themselves should be consistent worldwide. Well, it's not true. When you go to Ireland, the fairies, they're different, and they fly around, and it's so wonderful. No, it's not. The actual original story of the fairies is if they find you out in the deep woods and they catch you, you might not come back. Well, that's not the one I read in Aesop's Fables. Well, you're not reading the right one. You need to go talk to some of these abductees. They have a better story for you. Alien hierarchy. The consistency of the data must be consistent worldwide. You can't have a bunch of these disparate stories that, oh, it's this and it's that. It didn't happen 5,000 different ways. It's reasonably consistent. Here's some photos. This is a photo given to me in 1952 by an 81-year-old man. You can still see the scratches on the negative. I cannot verify its authenticity. I can verify the authenticity of the negative. We have not been able to provide that yet. Wendell Stevens got probably the best collection of UFOs anywhere in the world in UFOs, pictures of UFOs. And these pictures, and all these pictures you can see everywhere. I mean, people send me this stuff from overseas. I have a problem with this one because that one is in perfect, exactly perfect over their heads. I mean, this one is just a little too easy for me. The one in Trinidad long ago, absolutely verified as true. You can see from, let's see if we can get this thing to work here. UFO here, you can barely see it and everything. This is taken by NASA itself, so I suspect it's probably reasonably accurate. The triangular ships, these are reported on government gunships in Belgium. These people have got nukes like we do. If they're insane, why are they doing flying airplanes and photographing UFOs? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. These UFOs that were first publicized, very popular in Washington State, also showed up in Roswell, very similar to that. Roswell UFO looks very, very similar to that sort of thing. Let's see, we've got to get over here. This is a UFO that actually, I don't know if you're not going to be able to see it. You're not going to be able to see it. We'll just go on then. I don't think you're going to be able to see this one either. I'm pretty sure you won't. We knew that was coming though. The fact is that in ufology, it's important to think this, and I'm going to just lay something out to you, those of you who kind of like the philosophical aspect of this a little better, and then we'll get into the science and so on. The map is not the territory. You've heard this before. But if accurate, a map can actually give you an accurate description of what the real territory is going to look like. What I'm telling you is what we have in the UFO field is not the territory. It's a map. Crop circles are not the map. Excuse me, they're not the territory. They're maps. That's all they are. They're not some. People try to make these stuff more than it is. Implants are not the territory. They aren't. They just aren't. UFOs are not the territory. Let me put it in other terms. The waiter's not the chef. He isn't. He kind of looks like him. I mean, he's a little shorter. But the guy that's going to serve your meal is someone else. He's a lot smarter than that little guy. The little grays have an IQ of about, in my opinion, about 80, 85. They're nothing more than a 286 computer with legs. They can't even get your clothes on right. That's why a lot of you realize that something's wrong with this picture. Why is this? My view of the UFO phenomenon is that it's literally, it's like we're all like a bunch of dogs. Me too. I'm not unique. Like a bunch of dogs chasing a bus, howling with various different voices, one more enlightened than another. One of these days that bus is going to stop. And you may be looking for a metaphorical fire hydrant. Because I don't think what's going to get off the bus is going to be exactly what you expected. I could be wrong, but I might not. Governments, they have to know this information, provably so. My buddy Ron Regier says he designed some of the components on this DSP satellite, one of 18 floating around the world. You can see, read your watch from 2,300 miles up. He says this is a $125 million UFO detector. That sound good to you? Sure does to me. Farouk El-Baz, NASA geologist, primary investigator for the Apollo, director for research at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. I'll give you the short version here. He said, the spires that we saw on the moon, this is on the internet. He's got more papers published as a scientist than anybody. The spires we saw on the moon, some of them were 2 and 3 times taller than the largest buildings we have on Earth. That's funny, I didn't see that in the pictures anywhere, did you? I just didn't see any of these spires. But their lead geologist is saying they're all over the moon. Why do you think we're not going back to the moon anymore? Why was the last mission a military one? Mapping the entire moon. Mapping craters? Mapping something else. This guy's pretty hot. He describes other things too, just as well. Just Google him. You'll have a lot of fun with this guy. I did a presentation on implants in 1992. This letter was given to me by a guy who was there. I blocked it out because I wanted it to look, like a government document. I didn't want the government reading what was in that document. So I got to do to them what they're doing to us. Basically, this guy proved to me he was really CIA, and he actually was in the intelligence community, and I believed that. I mean, he did all the appropriate things. And then he said, there are going to be some of these MIB-type zombie guys going to show up here in the near future. And I said, wrong. He's nuts. Everything worked until that point. That's it. You're a wacko. A few months later, he sent me this article from the Associated Press, a report from the FBI about a zombie-like man who walked into banks and robbed 13 of them and just walked out. No accomplices. Just said, give me your money. They said, the FBI said he looked like something out of Dawn of the Dead. Then I changed my view about this guy because my friend then, whoever he was, wrote this little note and says, Mr. Sims, it begins. Kind of changed my thinking about where he was getting his information. Are there underground bases? There's a large boring machine from the United States Air Force. You see the size of the little people here? You think they only bored about 150 feet or 200 feet? No, they probably did a lot more than that. This is an underground base not far from where I live. It houses about about 40 to 50,000 people, built by a billionaire many years ago. It is for sale. Contact KPRC. I'm sure they'll let you buy it if you want it. Yeah, they do exist. Does the government know? Yes, they do. If you go to the front door of the CIA and say, tell me the secrets about flying saucers, they'll think you are nuts. You know why? Because they don't have a clue. They don't. Now, if you go into certain places in the Central Intelligence Agency, and particularly NSA, and ask that same question, and had the clearance and the ability to do that, talk to you about all kinds of stuff. But you're never going to get to those people. They're not elected. You're never going to reach those people. We have to have better techniques other than putting out a video talking about the government. It's going to have to be better than that. You're not going to change these people. It has to be better than that. 1952, UFOs came over the Capitol building. Everybody knows about that. What you may not know is we have 2 abductees that were in that event. One of them was a pilot. We have his entire flight logs and entire story and how he was threatened to say that event did not happen up there when he went up there with that airplane. Nothing happened like what he saw. The second one were a group of people that are on the ground down here. The United States government actually believed in 1952, during that week, we were under attack by an alien force. You probably don't know that, but we were. They thought that. There were 3 anti-aircraft roving batteries in Washington, D.C. in the event that we should be attacked by an alien force. The government was actually scared during this time. It's not the only time either. If UFOs are real, there must be occupants. I assure you there are. If UFOs are real, somebody has to be driving them. I'll mention this. Everything you know about the alien, in my view, is probably wrong, including that. What I'm saying is a lot of what they do is subterfuge. They don't want you to know what it is they're doing or why they're doing it. I don't know why they do that kind of stuff. Here's the UFO view, from the UFO community's view. You got the Watcher, you got the Little Gray. These guys are bad, these guys are kind of okay. These guys some of them love these guys, some of them don't like the man in the sky, and everybody loves the Nordic. They're so wonderful. I've got a case where a Nordic treated one of our abductees wonderful and tortured another one in the same mass abduction 3 days later. Tortured him. What does that mean? All it means is he's just following instructions. Somebody bigger than this group runs this stuff. Well, they're all different. No, they're not. Not these people. They've been seen together on the same craft numerous times. In my view, the UFO business is this. You've got the usual suspects, which we showed down here, and then you've got mid-level management. And we've actually had events where some of these characters actually showed up. They mean business, and these guys on the bottom rung here that some of us in here almost worship, they were so terrified of these guys up here. It was just amazing. I'm telling you, our view of the structure of this hierarchy may be vastly different than what we believe. I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying it might be worth looking into. The people who did the wonderful movie, I haven't seen it yet, it's a good one, I understand, Fast Walker, these are the artists. These are my abductees, by the way, and they gave me these wonderful pictures. They look like photographs, don't they? Because they're all abductees, and these are some of the things. I want to show you just very briefly and very quickly what it might look like inside. I assure you they have less than cordial attitude about these entities. Many times in abduction events, if you'll ask the abductee, is there anyone else there? They'll say, no, just a little guy or these 2 people here. If you'll ask them very carefully in the right way, you'll find out there's someone standing in the dark, almost in every case, giving instructions to the guys working on you. They're not very intelligent. Now, some people find that offensive. It's the way they're constructed. They're made that way. They're made not to rebel. The little guys. The taller one's a little doctor type. He's a lot smarter than they are. If UFOs are real and all these events are occurring, there must be physical evidence that are happening to people. As far back, many, many years ago, and here's a good example of a screensaver memory. Do you actually think these little guys are going to fit her inside that little rocket? Do you really believe they think that? What are they going to do? Chop her up and put her in little sausage cans or something? No. It is highly likely that the craft that was there did not look like some little rocket that would fit her brain. That's a screensaver, folks. This might be a little more closer to what happened in this guy's account also in Italy. Maybe that's more accurate. I don't know. How do you know so much about this? Why do you believe this stuff? Because in 1952, I became a captive audience. What does that mean to me? Well, like I said, I can live with my problems, but when they came after my son and my brother and his wife and my son's wife and just a few other people, it upset me quite a bit that they would do this to children. Not just pick them up, but do other things that are just unmentionable. Why do I believe abductees? They've been talking about people floating for years. And yet you look here and see that scientists can float this sumo wrestler 2 or 3 inches off the ground. You can see a lot better examples than this on the internet. Abductees have been telling the truth for years. 45% of Native American Indians, people of Native American Indians, Irish, Celtic descent, show up in our work. 31% of these people report rare drug allergies to procaines. That's just unheard of, people. 35% report surgical work or some type of implantation done to them. 62% of women report missing fetus or gynecological anomalies, many of them with endometriosis. I could go on and on and on here. I've got my shameless promotion time. It's in the book. It's our second printing, and it's got some beautiful color pictures in it, implants and all kinds of stuff. I don't want to sit here and repeat a bunch of stuff that you can read in the book if you're so interested. If you don't want to buy the book, you want to write me, I'll send you a bunch of stuff for free on the internet. I don't care. We're not in the business of making money. It took me 38 years to write this book. So I figure another couple of books, I'll be about 200 or 300 years old. So I'd get the first one because you may not be around for the next one. These aliens do funny things, and they understand your brain a lot better than you do. They do. They do. They know all about manipulation better than you can imagine. You like her? You like her that way? Not a very good date, is it? You like her better? Some people are better upside down, aren't they? Now, I'm not talking about me, but you may know someone like this. They understand how to manipulate your consciousness like in ways you can scarcely imagine. They can make you believe anything from I'm here to save the planet, fix your ozone hole, and all kinds of things. They hadn't done it in 6,000 years, but that's kind of curious. I'd wish they'd get started if they're going to do that. They have all kinds of things. Why do they pick up more women than men? Well, if they're more technological, it may be because women have a lot more buttons than guys do. I mean, his is basically on and off. If you look at men, they're basically what? Microwaves. Set, time, push, button. That's it, Women are more like a crock pot. They are. And it's a wonderful thing. Men are just push the button. They're just gone, Just weird. I'm sorry, guys, but we're weird. Maybe that's the way, I don't know why the aliens are getting them. I don't know. But if the alien is tampering with these people, there is actual evidence that can be collected, and I'm going to show you how that can be done. The fact is, they came while you slept. That's a metaphor. It means more than you can imagine at this point, in my view. The fact is, the alien we see in the visible range. See how big this little white stripe is here? That's all of visible light between 400 and 700 nanometers. All this down here is other light that you don't see and light above that you don't see. Below and above 400 and 700 nanometers. In my opinion, the alien sees in all three of these ranges at one time. In fact, maybe four. Because many abductees will describe them as, it was like they were scanning us. How do they do that without equipment? Because he sees with X-ray as well. He's looking for something. Probably broken bones that he left in you the last time he messed with you. My doctor at the VA hospital gave me an exam the other day. He says, where's your pain? I said, a little way over here, doc. And he says, no, it's on the right side. I said, no, it's not. It's over here. He said, yes, it is. It's over here. We get this big argument. I said, you tell me where my pain's at. I know where it's at. He said, well, your broken ribs are over here. I said, I don't have any broken ribs. Since then, I've written a paper about abductees and how injuries can occur by the alien and how they cover it up with previous injury. You get healed literally so fast. Well, they're healing you. You missed the point. Who put the number 12 boot in my rib cage to begin with? That's what I want to know. Well, he heals you though, didn't he? You missed the point. The paper is really a wonderful paper because one of the contributing people talking about it's a neurosurgeon who brought this question to me because she had seen it in her own practice. The visible and invisible, unusual markings. Let's talk about that for just a moment. Physical evidence in the visible realm. What kind of marks? Anything from visible marks, scars, lesions, cuts, missing skin, imprinted invisible marks on the abductee, hair color change in your entire beliefs. You go to get an abduction event and come back and your entire beliefs have changed. Think there might have been a problem there? That's pretty bizarre. Sexual orientation different when you get back? It's happened. Ask Dr. Carla Turner. We talked about this numerous times. Medical stats are different. extra tissue, other things you didn't plan to be in there are inside you now, unfamiliar objects that appear in the human body. In this case, a lady has been torn on her back by something that had claws. She referred to it as a reptile. I don't know, I wasn't there, but I did see that myself. This is a lady in Houston, Texas. She's very well-to-do, quite rich, and very famous. She's got like 39 law chains in the state of Texas. Very influential woman. Had an abduction event, went on TV the next day right in front of God and everybody. She says, I don't care what anybody thinks. It happened, and here's the mark. It happened to me. Very clear-headed. I'm just going to show you some of these marks that show up on some of these people. Marks that weren't there the night before. Well, it was just sleep paralysis, sir. I must have been sleeping when something tore a hunk out of the side of my neck in the middle of the night. I'm sure that's true. One lady goes on her abduction experiment. They take her off, comes back with half her labia missing. Well, that's sleep paralysis, what that is. Don't you know Dr. Susan Blackmore knows all about that? I'm sure she does. Why do I not believe that story? All them people must be mental health patients. No, they're not, but this one is. In fact, the MHMR of Houston sent this abductee to me. She said, his events are real. He does have psychopathology. I said, I understand. I'm sitting here looking at him, my dear. And I said, he needs some help. Thorazine or something right away. He was a mess. But his events are real. She knew that because she had had the events too, and the marks on him are exactly like the marks on his psychiatrist. Just like they were even when her children were born, just like his. Pretty rough to mess with a psych patient when their marks are just like yours and they're the patient, you're the therapist. Makes it a little ragged. All kinds of marks that show up on these people, from bruisings in the infrared and visible range, objects under the skin, as you can see here, dermatological scoops. I've got one on my shin. I'll show you when we get out of here and go later, and I'll show you this later. I'll go into this in more detail. What's the interesting thing about the scoops? Well, in this case, they gave the guy a scoop, and then they came back and gave him another one, and then they came back and gave him a third one. If that wasn't enough, another fellow we were working with out in the state of California had 7 of them in a row. These dermatological-like scoops we found literally are a condition of something we refer to as solar elastosis. Why is that significant to us? Because one of my abductees, before we ever did the test on this, described it in great detail, the equipment, everything used, and the intense ultraviolet light that burned her and cauterized that wound. Now, that happened to me when I was nearly 4 years old. After an event, the next morning, I had this huge 5/8 of an inch. I mean, my leg's that big around. 5/8 of an inch is a big mark. It's like a crater on my leg, and there's no scar, and I can't figure out why. Why is that? As a little boy, I can't figure that out. I don't understand. One of our ladies, long before we did any medical test whatsoever, drew the procedure in great detail. Why do I believe her? Because every bit of the medical evidence we have supports every word she said after the fact. This abductee, you might say, had less than a positive experience. He said, look what they did to me. I said, may I use your photographs? He said, absolutely. You think he's the only person it happened to? When I see you and you tell me I'm an abductee, I want to see the evidence. I want to see. And if you're a real abductee, events are happening to you, and there actually is evidence. There really is. There's no question about it. This is a man in a home where the abductions are occurring, and he gets tagged, and he's not even abducted, doesn't believe a word of any of this. But he can't figure out why fluorescence is all over him and why he's got these bruisings on him, just like the lady that's there. This is my daughter-in-law from Brazil. She said, she fled Brazil from these aliens to get to the United States, hoping that when she got here, they wouldn't follow. Guess what? We're back. This is the mark they left on her neck. And I said, it looks like to me, young lady, that you went and got a tattoo on your neck. And she said, I have a phobia of tattoos, and so does my mother, who's also an abductee. I said, still looks like a tattoo to me. She said, that's after tattoo removal, Mr. Sims. After tattoo removal. It's not a tattoo. She said the federal police of Brazil took this picture. That's what I want to hear. You went to the police. You did the right thing. I want to hear that. But I believe a lot of these cases are real. In the State Department of Puerto Rico, when I went down there, I was invited. The State Department walked us through and everything. He's in a presentation at night, says, my God, why in the world would I get that same symbol that's on your daughter-in-law's neck? Why would I photograph that years before in San Francisco, graffiti on a wall? Why am I obsessed with this symbol? I said, I don't know. He said, then I come here and it's on your daughter's neck. He said, it makes me wonder. I said, about your own experiences? He said, exactly. We do have some videos available. I don't have much to sell. I'm not in the business of making money at this stuff, folks. Everything we do is free. It's a philanthropic effort. If we do surgeries on you or for you or anything else, you know how much it's going to cost you? Nada. Not one dime. We do not charge for our work. I can't, in all good conscience, have gone through these events and then watch you do the same thing and sit there and think, well, I just ought to make some money off this deal. I just can't do it. What about cattle mutilations? You know anything about those? Yeah, they're all over the world. As you can see, they're down in Brazil, up in here. And you like that? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Come on, you can wake up. It's okay. I love it. The fact is, mutilations and things like this do occur. I'm going to show you something I have not shown very many people. I have permission to do this. I don't have permission to do it. I was ordered to do it by the mother. These are two children who died as a result of their abductions in Dallas, Texas, years ago. The mother, I put up this, it's a little humorous statement here, but it's not really about humor. I'd call it the Alien Hunter Milk Company, because I want to know where all the milk's going. You know what I mean? They got my sperm and they got her eggs. Where do you think they took it? I want to know where the milk factory is. I want to know what they're doing with the milk. Some of you ladies have been used as incubators. Do you know that? Well, nobody's ever been able to prove that. MUFON said in their report. Want to bet? We got some sonograms that actually show the little guy in there, and it ain't human. That's not my statement. That's the doctor's statement. The evidence is there. You just have to get it in time. That's really the catch. Bodies don't bruise after death. That's the children after their abduction. The terrible thing in this event is the mother was abducted at the same time. She said, I could hear my children screaming in the other room. Mr. Sims, who speaks for me? Who speaks for my children? I said, I'll speak for them. I'll do that. I don't care. I have no axe to grind. All I want is the truth, and I want somebody accountable. So this is the children. This is the mommy. Isn't she interesting? Nice lady, sweetheart. Well, this is her before and after her abduction when she came to report all this to me. Can you even recognize her as the same person? She ended up in the OR. She's got bruisings on both sides of her head where they clamped a device on her head. She's got swelling throughout. She didn't do well after this event at all. Like she said, who speaks for me? Who speaks for my children? Just finished the case for A&E in Pennsylvania, all-black family. First case like this, better, in my opinion, than Betty and Barney Hill. All-black family, African-American. I said, these are dear friends of mine. I said, listen, what nationality are you people? And they laughed. They said, Mr. Sims, we're African-American. I said, I know that. Everybody's something. But there's more. What else are you besides black? They said, oh, well, we're Cherokee Irish. Why did I know that? I guess I'm just a good guesser. 16-year-old boy draws this entity, and he describes the device and all the other implementation things that were done. This huge handprint is approximately, I have huge hands, and this thing is this much bigger than mine. It's on the wall. They left a greasy-like substance on it. I took DNA samples of this and another handprint. I took DNA samples from the boy, 16 years old, IQ 180. Forensic psychiatrists there are trashing these people, in my opinion. You know what? That little 6-year-old girl, the grandmother, and an 16-year-old boy saw through that whole facade. Every word of it. They know what their events are all about. Police officer in Houston, Texas, Friendswood, Texas. Alien walks through the glass window, left a holographic image of his hands and arm in the glass. We actually have that. Pretty neat stuff, you know. I love evidence because it's there, my friends. There is evidence. You just have to know how to look for it. Why is it? How can you find evidence and other people can't? Well, how did they find Geronimo? Does anybody know? 5,000 troops couldn't find him in 3 states for years. How did they find Geronimo? They went to the reservation and asked some Apache Indians, you guys know how to find that guy? They said, sure, we're Indians. They caught Geronimo. That's how they did it. It worked. You want to catch an alien? Find an Indian. Think I'm kidding? Bob Bigelow calls me and says, you seem to have an ability to find evidence no one seems to be able to find. And you seem to be able to find a lot of it. Why? And I said, well, it's not because I'm, any high IQ or anything. He said, I know how to hunt these beings. I was there consciously. I remember. They have habits just like we do. And you can capitalize on those habits just like they capitalize on yours. That's why you're an easy victim, an easy mark. The alien sees an infrared. This is how he may see you and your cat, is an example. They don't see you like you think they do. Infrared, you can block out all kinds of things on checks and paper and forge stuff, and you can pull out your infrared equipment there and you can read right through it as if you can block it out all you want to. It'll show up just as easy as anything in the world. You have a heat signature in the infrared range. They can spot you for a mile. Well, I'll get a camera set up and I'll film them when they abduct me. No, you won't. They'll just turn it right off. You think they don't see it on? I want to show you a little bit more evidence very quickly. How they see with their eyes. Whenever I was a little boy and they came into my room, I was wide awake. I didn't know what the thing was. Kind of looked like that, but his eyes were perfectly round, not this Lexus type models. Mine was a Ford, the old cheap round eyes, I don't know. I'm just guessing here. I think that's a lens cover. One of my abductees begged me in tears crying. She's now deceased. She said, please show me how to protect my children. So I gave her post-hypnotic suggestion to assault her captor. I want to know what it would be like. She didn't care. She just wanted to defend herself. She didn't care about my science. Forget that. She tore his eye cover off. Well, you're paralyzed. You can't move. Want to bet? That's just a suggestion. I got a better one for you. You can. You can't go in that room over there because you'll die if you go in those other rooms. No, you won't. You'll see things that you could report to somebody who might be able to do something about it. You're not going to die. You're going to find out what they're up to. So she tore the eye cover off. Guess what wasn't behind the eye? It wasn't that. Now, there are some people that love for me to say it was, but it wasn't. Okay. You want to know what it was? It was a red stippled screen with 6 little white lights going back and forth, just like something you might see in medical equipment. As if this thing had been biologically engineered with some equipment. I don't think all of the grays are like that, but some of them appear to be, based on her report. The goddess Iana of history, look at her eyes. Makes you wonder who she really was. January 20th, 1996, Varginha, Brazil. Little alien guy shows up with 3 little bumps on his head, red eye cover. Notice he doesn't have his cosmic sunglasses on. What color are his eyes? Years after we discovered this before, years before, they find this and they all report they have bright red eyes, just like she reported. These abductees are not making this stuff up. They're telling the truth as best they understand it. Now, one of the things that bothers me in the UFO community is they dress this guy up to make him more palatable. I mean, if he's from another world and far superior to us, thousands of light years ahead of us, he must appear to be like that. Well, the problem is he didn't. In fact, if you look in the city of Varginha, Brazil, that's what you'll see he looks like, because they made a sculpture of him and put it right in the middle of the city. What do you need 4-inch claws to fly a spaceship for? What's even more curious about that is we found a mask from northern Africa where this northern tribe puts this mask on to cover their face whenever they come down from the skies. It makes you wonder about the 3 little bumps on that guy's head, if it might have been the same bunch that showed up to them 5,000 years prior. It's pretty amazing stuff. Wow. I like evidence. Or it could even be older. King Tut's tomb. They found a fetus, human fetus, but what in the world is that right next to it in the same little coffin? I don't know. I sure would like to have a DNA sample of that. Again, I'll pay for it if it's alien. No problem. How do they see in the world of X-rays? They seem to examine. These abductees talk about being scanned. The fact is, many abductees, a number of them, me included, have broken bones with no history of injury. Foreign objects in the body even ejects automatically. Implanted objects that were installed, or embedded objects that were left inside them. Artificial inseminations that lead to spontaneous ejecta. Apparent pregnancies, missing fetuses, full-term pregnancies. I mean that. We have 3 cases where the so-called fetus, you know how they never get here, first trimester they're gone, or second trimester. We have some that got here, 3 of them. Got DNA on one of them, working on that one right now. Like I said, there is plenty of evidence. You just have to get there in time to get it. Evidence, in my opinion, abounds in the infrared, ultraviolet, and X-ray, and visible light spectrums. The implants, I'll give you this very quickly. The implant history is quite simple. How I discovered it, simply my own experience. I'm laying on a table with 11 degrees incline, and I can hear them discussing what they're fixing to do to me, and I cried like a baby. I was 12 years old. It broke my heart. I couldn't believe that someone would do that to a little boy. I just couldn't understand that. And I just wept. Why would somebody do this? I don't mean abduct, I mean what they did. I'm not going to describe it, there's no point in it. Why in the world would you do that to a child? It's for your betterment. Why do I not believe that? I was invited to present to 250 surgeons an AMA-sponsored program, continuing education for embedded objects of alleged alien-human contact. John Muir Medical Hospital. Only researcher I know that that's happened to. What's the point? 3 doctors came on board, as a matter of fact. They were that impressed. All we presented was medical evidence. We did not talk about flying saucers and aliens. All we talked about is medical evidence. These are some of the universities and other places that help us with some of our research. Like I say, we pay for this out of our pocket. When we're fortunate, some of these people will do this fairly free. But this is one of our first public cases. We actually had done cases before this, but I mentioned 4 things in that medical presentation: that if these objects are alien in origin, there will be no signs of inflammatory response, either chronic or acute. You know what the doctor said? You're nuts. He did. He said it's not possible. He said, you get a splinter, you have an inflammatory response, right? Get a spatter effect from a gunshot, bullet gets in you, don't take it out, what happens? The body will coat it and cover it. Inflammatory response. One's either chronic, one's acute, doesn't matter. There will be no inflammatory response around these objects whatsoever if they are alien in origin. None. Wrong nerve cells will be around these objects if in fact they're alien in origin. You know what they said? You're nuts. They did. They were very kind the way they said it, but that's what they meant. I said, it gets worse. And I told them 2 other things. They said, that's not going to happen. Pathology showed no signs of inflammatory response, either chronic or acute. Wrong nerve cells present around these objects. How in God's name did you know that would be true? I was there. Remember? Conscious. That's why. So I know. The objects themselves, one of the first group of them, we've got obviously different ones. The first one's actually turned out to be meteoric in origin. In this case here, in the foot surgery, we're fixing to look into very quickly. This is a doctor took this x-ray in Brazil. This is his wife. The doctor, who's also an abductee, can't see an object nearly 3 inches long inside his wife's foot. I have to point it out to him. Why? Because abductees are told to destroy evidence and to ignore things. That's why they don't come up with a lot of evidence. You have to do it for them. Like I say, we do have universities and others that handle our work and do things, wonderful things for us. This is a genetic engineer. He's got a little 6-shaped object in his neck. He is absolutely scared, terrified to death. He said, what in the world is this thing? Lady's got one in her hand. Lady, this is her back. This is a military woman in the military. This is her breast. This is her stomach. This is her lung area. There's the object. It is approximately the size of a walnut. Her doctor says, I think she was abducted. He said, that object is not natural, and it's next to her heart, and we're never going to touch it. Thank God you're not going to do it. 8 little tiny gold spheres found in a little girl's nose on 2 different occasions after 2 different abductions found by her mother after the little girl reported a little bald-headed man with large black eyes came into my house. These are not implants, people. There are so many stupid things out there on the internet about what implants are. You've all got implants. You don't. I look at hundreds of x-rays every year, MRIs and CAT scans, and I assure you, most people do not have any implants. You don't. They're extremely rare. Yeah, but they don't sell books. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just the truth. Golden object, you'll find also in my display case in the back that you'll see I have a display with some of the implants in there in the other room, of course. You're welcome to come back, obviously, purchase some books if you choose to. In the book, some of these pictures are in there, but you'll also see a number of these in the flesh in the other room if you'd like to see them. You're welcome to do so. That was found in a lady's nose. This is an ocular implant that was found in a lady's eye. 8 people in the same mass abduction in 2 states and several cities on 2 occasions. December 8th, 1992 and December 11th, they came back and took out the implants. They missed one, and it fell out of her eye in front of her boss at work. That's the only reason we got it. She tried to destroy it while she was there. And her boss says, if you don't take that thing, the size of a seed, a little grain of sand, and give it to that investigator guy that you introduced me to the other day, I will fire you. Okay, that's the only reason we got it. She tried to destroy it 3 times in front of her boss. I know, these people are programmed, people. Me too. I'm no different. They did it to me the same way. Dr. Carla Turner, before she passed away, Carla, she was here the last time I was here. Unbelievable evidence. She gave this to me. It wasn't just then. I have it with me. What is this? She said, Derrel, she said, this is evidence that I had a forensic lab look at. And she said, you need to check it out. She said, they said this compound cannot exist in this matrix. She said, they said, you're never going to use our name on this, and we don't know what it is. We don't want to know. That's the often answer you get because you made the mistake of saying the word alien. Don't do that. In your lab work, you just let them discover it. This compound has 2 things in it. It has metal and it has a biological substance, and they're both intertwined. It's impossible. Want to bet? There is evidence. In my event, this is not me. A gentleman called me here a while back and said, Mr. Sims, he said, I was abducted during the 60s as well. And I said, 1960? I was 12 years old. That happened to me. I said, they started saying about nasal passage, this long needle thing, broke the bones of my nose, screamed, I was there, I remember. Screamed and everything. They forgot to say, it won't hurt. You won't feel anything. You won't remember. Well, I did. And it hurt. And it broke the bones of my nose. I heard it break the bones as it went deep inside behind my eye. And he said, that happened to me too. And I said, well, I don't want to trash you here, but, I hear that a lot. You got any x-rays? Yes, I do. It's okay. He sent them to me. He said, there's the object right there. In mid-brain, right behind my eye, just exactly in the same location you described yours. I said, oh my gosh. He said, I didn't tell the doctors anything. He said, they're freaked out. They can't figure out how an object got inside my skull, deep inside, with no trauma, no tissue damage, nothing. They can't figure it out. I just keep letting them take more and more of those CAT scans and things. He said, it's really neat. He said, they're proving my case for me. I said, you are wiser than your years, sir. Let them do it. So they're here changing our DNA, making us better or whatever. Maybe, they may not. Is that what the implants are all about? This is an implant lady gave me. He said, came out of her ear, inside the hole in her ear for the little earring. Oh, look at this. It's horrible. This is an evil implant. And I said, well, we don't know what it is. We have to send it out and check it out. And it just got worse. We looked at it under magnification. Oh, my gosh, there it is. We know what it turned out to be? A little tiny bug, a little bee-type creature, got in her ear, part of his eye, and his head was in her hole in her ear, right there in her earring hole, right there in her ear. She was absolutely, she is an abductee, don't get me wrong, but she was mistaken. That's not an implant. Sorry. This was given to me from Brazil. This is an intelligence implant from the CIA. Now, how would you know that? Who died and made you God? How do you know where that thing came? Where's the medical report on the surgery? Oh, we don't have one. It didn't come from a surgery. That's why. Go pull it on somebody else. Don't you believe in intelligence implants? Yes, I do. I'm still looking for them too. But when we find them, we'll find them in a surgery, won't we? There'll be a surgical report, there'll be evidence, and not somebody finding some little computer chip and say, see, we pulled that out of a surgery. Want to bet? Nice try. It's not going to work. I want to see the evidence. We open some of these things. We look at them. We see what's on the inside. Object in the guy's jaw. It claims to be a MyLab case. Military abduction. They abducted me and did all this stuff. Well, that's great. The only problem is it turned out to be low-grade lead. He also had a clavicular screw in his shoulder. I said, you told me you didn't have any previous surgeries. I didn't. The aliens did that. They didn't. That's a clavicular screw from previous surgery, sir. When you lie to me, I can you. Nothing else from that point on. Just tell the truth. That's all I'm asking. Wire-like implants. We have one person here, their daughter went to the dentist. He says, little wire-like thing in your teeth. I'm going to check that out. He's going to drill it out. Broke the bit on his drill as soon as he hit it. Implant given to me by a lady. I won't go into the name. She said it was a military implant, came out of my arm. No medical report. Big problem. I said, no, ma'am. I said, that, in fact, is low-grade iron, and we had it analyzed in Scotland, by the way. And the guy was pretty disgusted. We sent it. So was I. A friend of mine, a NASA scientist, found a device. This is not it, but it's likened to this, inside his light bulb. He's also an abductee, one of our team members. Scared him half to death. I said, what did you do? He said, I gave it to the FBI. I said, are you mentally ill? You did what? I gave it to the FBI. That's what they do. He said, they took it, and I called them about it, and they said, what bulb? We don't know what you're talking about. You know the good news? Somebody did it again. We got this one, though. He's smart enough not to give it away. Thank you. Somebody's an ask guy who's not real smart. May have a PhD, but this is my work, folks. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, you know. What doctors in England said about the little sonogram. Now, this thing is taken off the internet. This is not a real issue here. This is somebody little fake feet in the stomach and, oh, look, my baby's trying to get out. You know, that's not real. But I use it as an illustration that something is in there. And this is, by the way, this is not the sonogram that I want to show you. I was not able to get it scanned in time before I got here. But I will at some point at a later time show you those sonograms. It does show an entity inside this woman. It is, in my opinion, not human. Has a large bulbous head, long pointed chin. Two other doctors in one of the finest fetal hospitals in England looked at it, horrified. For a lot of reasons. One, because the sonograms were not taken the way they should have been. It's a long story, but the point is, some of you ladies have been telling the truth. The truth. Like you don't know your own body. You know what I mean? This is the latest surgery in Houston. We were not responsible for this one. Guy thinks that's an antenna. I said, sir, that's a hair sticking out of the, the sample. Oh, I said, that's an implant. You know, I said, okay. This is one of the latest surgeries up in Ohio that we had done. A podiatrist did this. I requested that the guy go ahead and sue the podiatrist. He said, I can't believe my foot still hurts. We went back and had it x-rayed, and the implant's still there. Well, the alien put it back in. No, the doctor never did take it out. Now, he did that because he's either negligent or he did it because on purpose. Either one, I don't like. People pay for medical services. They deserve to get them. That's ongoing currently. And last but not least, in our last few moments here, I want to show you a few things in the invisible light in the fluorescent range, which is a lot of what my book's about on how to find your own evidence. You don't need me. You don't need anybody to find this stuff. It's easy to find much of it. He sees in the infrared and ultraviolet range, as I've mentioned. I believe that to be true for a lot of reasons. That's what fluorescence looks like on a woman's foot without a black light. Had a top investigator tell me one day, he says, I never found no fluorescence on anybody. I said, did you use the black light, sir? No. What part of that did you not understand? It's in the invisible range. If you don't use a black light, you will never see it. If you look at some of these photographs, you can see fluorescence on these people in different places. You can see the dermal ridges on the fingerprints on these people with fluorescence. If it comes off, if you can wash it off, if you can get it off in any way, don't call me. If you wash, scrub, beat on it, do everything you can, you cannot get that out. It subdermally penetrates your skin. I want to hear from you quickly, because it's gone in about 24 hours. Your body will absorb it. In Washington State, the lady said, she had a black light, but I couldn't photograph it because we don't have a camera. I said, well, draw me a picture, sweetie. She did. She says, my son's leg, she said, there's the hand in fluorescence where the thing held his leg down as they did whatever it was they did to him. The fluorescence has different colors. One of them is often brilliant green. Hence, maybe the term little green men. Maybe somebody was seeing something that we didn't know about. This is the first case I discovered on this lady in 1992. Remarkable case. We found on the inside of her arm, right here, a Mandelbrot set. That's a mathematical configuration you see there on the border of chaos and order. That was not an accident, how it got on the inside of her arm. She went to the bathroom as soon as she saw what? She's, what the blankety blank is that? And I said, young lady, I don't know. I said, this is sometimes we find these things. She ran to the bathroom and acted just like a rape victim as she scrubbed and scrubbed and cried and cried. I don't know why. I'm just saying that these people, how can fluorescence be used in the medical realm? This is a carcinoma. Carcinomas, you can fluoresce them and you can watch the growth of it so you can see the medical value of fluorescing or DNA tagging and this sort of thing. In the process of thinking about that, or even bull sperm in this case, which has been given fluorescence as well. It's always bothered me, they're doing all these cattle mutilation cases and they're not checking them for fluorescence whatsoever. I never understood that. Even when I asked investigators to do that, it's like they just ignore it and they just go do something else. There ought to be samples taken there. There ought to be samples taken from abductees in certain cases because there may be DNA tagging going on a far different level. This is funny. Now, let's do this. Let's go back. We have cases where the DSP satellite sees cows. It sees cows in very special ways, and also deer and other things. I asked my DSP satellite friend, I said, let me ask you a question. This thing is pretty sensitive. I said, without obviously getting into the you can't tell me area, how sensitive is it? And he said, what do you mean? I said, can it spot a heat ratio of maybe 5 degrees, above 5 degrees between cattle? And he said, yes. I said, you mean to tell me you guys have been spotting cattle, mad cow disease for years and hadn't told anybody? He said, yes. You make me angry. He said, it's in the deer population too. I said, I know that. This is many years ago. This is 1994, 95, 96. Long time ago. It's the military doing all this stuff. No, it's not. I was in the military. I wouldn't have done this to anybody. It is somebody in the intelligence agency, though. It's not the whole intelligence agency. They're not all rotten, but some of them are to the core. One of the things that ought to concern people, though, is why is it that all this stuff has been kept so secret? Well, there are all kinds of goofy ideas out there of why that may be. But I suspect something different. This is the famous Irani Guranchi. She's also in my book. I'm doing a fluorescence test on her. She was very excited by this. One of the greatest ufologists in all of South America. Incredible woman. Fluorescence on some abductees. Some of the marks that we find on them is an example here as well. This RN showed fluorescence on her hand. She had to circle it because obviously couldn't see it without a black light. We have done and are doing some current work in forensics concerning fluorescence. One of the things we check is in your mouth. I will check certain people if you want me to do this with you. The fact is that when you're given on this craft, given a fluorescent a material, it's brown. It's like bad chocolate milk to drink. It'll make you defecate on the floor within probably no more than 90 seconds. And what's weird about that is the inside of your mouth will glow pure white when you come back after your event. So we check inside the mouth as well. We want to know. We want to know all about this fluorescent business. We use all kinds of specialty equipment in fluorescence to study this phenomena. I won't go into it now. The one thing that we find about the aliens, he has no dermal ridges whatsoever. This is not a big shock or anything like that. DNA fluorescent tagging has been used for a long time. I suspect the alien may be doing the same thing. I am very, very excited. This is not fluorescence. This baby got a hold of a pen and marked the other one up. That's not what it looks like, folks. That's not the way we find stuff. We have a lady who was sexually assaulted by a MIB, an MIB, a large creature, human-like, unbelievable case. I know the woman very well. She doesn't lie. I've warned her, if I find your husband's DNA here, you're in a lot of trouble because you're fixing to cost me a lot of money. I don't think that we will find his DNA for a lot of reasons. This is me going over some of the material that she sent. We will send this off the lab when I can afford it. I just tapped out right now. I can't pay for any more than I can. Some of the equipment that we use, I'm going to close here in just a couple of minutes. Some of the evidence that she sent, we check it for radiation. We check it for everything you can imagine. Everything. There is plenty of evidence out there, my friends. You just have to find it. This is the underwear she sent. And we checked it under various nanometer lengths. You'll see that it fluoresces in places sometimes. In other nanometer lengths, it does not. That means the fluorescence we're finding there, in effect, most of the fluorescence we're looking for from the alien is 267 nanometers. That's generally what we're finding. Luminescence exists as well on animals in nature. We found fluorescence on cattle before they were mutilated. Why do you think the government's interested? Because they actually spotted the fluorescence from space with the DSP satellite, in my opinion. And then they send a helicopter out to pick him up because they want to know what those guys are doing with those cows. And then they do things to the cows and see what the alien's going to do with what they did to them. It's kind of an interesting thing, really. Why are aliens doing this thing? If you're an abductee or a contactee, stop whining. Get over it. It's okay. You'll come back. Most of you. Most of us. It'll be okay. Really, I'm serious. We have to have a sense of humor about this sort of thing. You may even develop as a result of it. You may be better for it. You may even turn into something better. I don't know. But I certainly hope so. And I hope you see yourself, because this is how I see abductees and contactees myself. God bless you, and come visit us at our time. Thank you.